Hey, buddy. How you doing there, champ? You okay? Mm. Hey, looking forward to next season? No? Too soon? Hey, you still like Josh Allen? Who likes Josh Allen? I saw a little smile there. You like Josh Allen. Hey, well, you can't lose another Super Bowl if you don't go to the Super Bowl, right? It's a chin up there, big fella. Okay. You wanna you wanna go ahead and start the show? Okay, well, let's go ahead and start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's Too Late with Alan Mosley.
Yeah! Woo! Excited. Here we go. Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the number one producer in late night. It's Dave Willimowski. Dave! Dave, how are you doing?
I guess that could be worse. I mean, yeah, season's over, but now I can freely work on Sundays, so that's nice. How you doing, Alan?
Hey, that's the Polish spirit right there.
Yep.
Away with all these childish things. There's work to do every day of the week. Boy, well, I tell you, you got to get your work in now because you got to save up for the big trip to come on down to the 6th annual It's Too Late live show coming to you Saturday, May 18th here in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee. The 6th annual. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
6th annual. We're going to have lemurs and kangaroos, which I've learned in a couple of years, they're going to be 6 feet tall.
That's a lot.
That is exciting.
It is.
Yeah. There's a sloth and there's a really fat groundhog, and there's a hedgehog. The Sanic the hedgehog is going to be there. Sanic, he's going to be signing tickets for people. They what they do is they hand you a little towel, and you get to hold Sanic so that he doesn't go wee and then cut a hole right through you.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
He's fast.
But that is Saturday, May 18th here in Tennessee. So you got to get your tickets. The link is over there in chat. It's down there in the show notes. It's over at eventbookings.com. I think we also have, you can get a VIP ticket, which is going to get you the really fancy handmade lanyard out of glitter and dried macaroni. But if you've got a really big VIP-ness, you can get the super VIP ticket. And with that, you'll also get a wristband.
Holographic wristband, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. I still haven't even seen those. I'm really excited, actually. Yeah. Boy, tough break for the folks over at the LA Times, huh? You got a picture of those heroes? God, look, just real salt of the earth Americans right there.
Totally, yeah.
The paper announced mass. That's me. Mass layoffs in the newsroom. Over 100 journalists were let go.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Democracy dies in darkness. Hard to think that a paper would be stuck in such a financial rut as the LA Times when they've been putting out such bangers as this right here. Column, mocking anti-vaxxers' COVID deaths is ghoulish, yes, but maybe necessary.
Oh.
Look at that woman. Jesus Christ. If it was anyone that ever needed to be drowned in the toilet. Also, big news, the New Hampshire primary already came and went since our last episode, and the winner, of course, just like last week, is former President Donald Trump with a pretty decisive victory over the only really candidate left running against him, Nikki Haley. Interesting thing about Nikki Haley, she hasn't dropped out of the race yet, even though it seems pretty clear that Trump's going to win. And some people think that Trump might actually choose her as his vice presidential candidate.
Oh.
Now, I personally don't think that's a very good idea. In fact, I think it's a very bad idea if you know anything about Hillary Rodham Haley. In fact, but I was curious to see if other people felt the same way I did. So we actually did a poll on Twitter this past week. Check out our poll. Which of these people would you rather see as vice president in 2024? Nikki Haley, AOC, Kamala Harris, or Liz Cheney? And with 71.2% of the votes,
Wow.
the answer
Interesting.
is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. How about that?
Wow.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. America has spoken, and when forced to choose between the lesser evils, it chooses big Latina titties. Yeah, they do.
I take it down or just leave that up.
Yeah. I see, Dave. You're just stunned into silence right there. With it being all but certain that Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, President Biden wasted no time taking to the trail to give his would-be opponent a stern warning.
Ooh.
Here, take a look.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
What? Well said, Mr. President. Boy, I tell you. And with that, another classic political slogan is born. Now, I know you guys have heard of Make America Great Again, but are you ready for this one? Don't mess with America. That's right. I tell you what else you shouldn't mess with, and that's Fox & Sons Coffee, which you can find at foxandsonscoffee.com. Use promo code ITL. You get 18% off orders of $25 or more. Shipping's always free over orders of $37.99 at foxandsons.com. I actually have, check this out right here. This is the Den Blend Light.
I got a bunch of that.
Yeah, the Den Blend Light roast is light and bright. I was going to say it's lighter skin, kind of like AOC, but she ain't bright. Yeah. Grind coarse. Bloom. Steep for 4 minutes. Shh. Don't be scared.
Fight it. Never fight it.
Did you guys know that they also have subscriptions? They have a subscription service for the Beat of the Month Club. I know, this is so cool. For $27.99 every month for 6 months, you get 2 bags a month. Now, that's going to include one of their classic flavors, such as the Electric Boogaloo or the Den Blend Light, but also one of their exotic flavors, like that honey-flavored Brazil Honey Prep. Have you tried that honey-flavored coffee, Dave?
Actually, I just had some this morning. I've been grinding it up past all week. Yeah. Freshly ground.
Were you scared
every morning? No, I dove in feet first, man.
Oh, you're a feet kind of guy. Okay, all right. So whatever. That AOC's got you all hot and bothered. Guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week and the viewer mail right after this commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Hey, Dave.
Yes, Ellen. Oh.
What time is it?
It's time for meme of the week. What?
And you will never listen to Coldplay the same ever again.
No.
But we do have a bonus meme. Check out the bonus meme.
Oh no.
Masterpiece. Oh, okay.
That slaps, man.
I know. That's a bop right there. Let me tell you about tonight's other sponsor, which is the Tennessee Hot Sauce Company, which you can find at tnhotsauceco.com. Use promo code It's Too Late, all one word, It's Too Late, for 10% off your entire order. They've got so many other products now. They got some merch. They've got the beef jerky. Oh,
yeah.
Here's my favorite right here. This is the garlic habanero. We gonna get a shot of that?
Yeah, here we go. Shocking. Garlic habanero. That sounds delicious.
It actually is super good. I drank some of this and
That's
it's
why.
all right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize you ate hot sauce a different way. I thought you just,
No. Yeah.
it's a liquid. Don't you drink
Pour
liquids?
yourself a highball. Take
Yeah.
a seat in the den.
Wow. Grab your pipe, your tweed jacket, Dave.
Classy.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, that's Tennessee Hot Sauce Company at tnhotsauceco.com. Promo code It's Too Late. Let's go ahead and answer some viewer mail. All right, first question comes to us tonight from Gary Dykstra, who writes, Dear Alan and Dave, now that your favorite NFL teams are out of the playoffs, what remaining team are you going to root for, if any? That's a little soon, Gary. Some of us are still mourning for you to just be hopping on to the next bandwagon, you know?
Yeah,
But-
I was pretty upset. Like just the next day, I was like, "Why am I this upset? I'm not this upset." But
Yeah.
I think I was.
Yeah. But you know what? We do actually have an answer for you for at least the next few days. This is a Motor City Kenny's channel right here.
Motor City Kitties. Yeah.
Abso-freaking-lutely. You know what? If Detroit beats San Francisco, I will actually unironically get a Detroit jersey.
Oh,
I will.
okay.
Yeah. I'll wear my Detroit jersey to the event in May if Detroit wins the Super Bowl. All right. Let's see. Brooke Atkinson writes, Dear Alan and Dave, if you two had to fist fight via proxy, who would you pick to be your champion out of people you know in real life, and why? Dave, if you and I were going to have gladiators square off against one another, who would you pick?
Somebody we know. I guess I'd have to pick Seth. He's a monster. He's huge.
Yeah,
and he's working at the bar now, so he's probably used to getting in a couple brawls.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll go with Seth.
I bet he says Roadhouse about 17 times a night, and then kicks someone.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Until it's not.
All right. You know what, Brooke? I actually thought about this. I would pick Dave.
Oh.
So Dave is fighting for me against himself, fighting Seth. And if Dave wins, then Dave loses the duel.
Oh.
But if Dave loses, then Dave also got what was coming to him.
Okay.
So I pick Dave. Yeah.
Handy. System.
Yeah. Hey, I always come out on top. You should know that by now. All right.
Little inside joke.
Yeah. Andrew Avery writes, Dear Alan and Dave, if a ghost pepper is too hot, does it get jalapeno business?
Jalapeno business.
Okay.
All right.
I've noticed that Andrew has been in good form since the new year. Have you noticed that?
Oh, he must have made a resolution.
Yeah, I think so. Which means in another couple of weeks it'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
coming.
Everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't we do a whole bit about? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Ryan Seifert writes, Dear Alan and Dave, which Star Trek character did you have the biggest crush on?
Oh.
You know what? I bet AOC would make a really good Counselor Troy.
Oh yeah.
In the little onesie, you know.
You're blending them now. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm used to blending them. If you know. Star Trek character, Dave. You like a Star Trek character?
I had to look a little bit to jog my memory because I never watched it, but I've seen it. And I was gonna say Ahura because I don't know, that's the first one I saw, but I think 6 of 7. She was in a different one, right?
You mean 7 of 9?
7 and 9, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah,
6. Yeah, 5 3/4. Yeah,
I don't know, something like that. But I think I remember seeing her and being like, oh, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, Dave sees 7 of 9, and he gives her his 5 3/4. You know. Can I not get any laugh reacts from you? Come on!
I laughed myself. Okay.
God dang it. You still haven't hit it. You know what? Forget it. It's no. We've moved on. All right. And finally this evening, Mary Lynn Wilimowski writes, Dear Alan and Dave, how do you handle someone who continues to interrupt you when you're trying to focus on a project? Even though they've apologized several times, the behavior continues.
This is so meta. Okay.
You have some thoughts on that, or?
I think you should let them know that, like, I want to see what you want to show me, but I can't do it right now. I need to finish what I'm doing. That's just tell them. Don't just say, oh, no, it's okay, and act like everything's okay. I need to know. You need to communicate.
Yeah. See, Mary, you have to understand. It's actually your fault.
Yeah.
Dave. Wow. Well,
you know what the project was?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Think of a question. She was trying to think of a question for the It's Too Late.
Oh, wow. So it was like a meta question.
Yeah.
Wow, that is something else. Well, as always, a man had to come in and be the source of inspiration for the answer.
Yep. See?
Yep.
Can't help but help.
Yeah. Me and Mary have been on the fritz since last weekend. So I better not dig a deeper grave. Guys, we're going to be back with Pete Quinones to talk about the rise and fall of one Ron DeSantis right after this commercial break. Don't go away.
We need cash. What happened to our stash? I bought an electric guitar. I rented a shiny car. I went out to lunch. But McDonald's is a thrifty lunch. I purchased a random flute. I hired a prostitute. Whatever will we do? We'll have to think it through. I know I will start to sell my body parts. A kidney or a lung. My liver or my home. I'll distribute them in jars to people driving cars. I have a better plan. I'll marry a wealthy man. Wouldn't that make you gay? Not necessarily. That would be okay. What? I'll sleep in a separate bed, and I'll refrain from giving kisses. We'll be happy for a while. I'll try to comply to his style, and keep his mansion clean. Then I'll kill him and inherit his green.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest this evening, making his, 6th, 7th, 8th, 22nd appearance on the show, is, of course, the host of the Pete Quinones Show, which really ruins the big reveal of who the guest is. But that's okay, because he's getting Liberty right. You can find him on his website, which is still Free Man Beyond the Wall, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the PeteQuinonesShow.com redirects to it. ManceRaider.com directs to it. There's a lot of things that direct to it.
All right.
But it is Free Man Beyond the Wall, yeah.
Well, very good. All right. Well, I still have it bookmarked as Free Man Beyond the Wall, and I refuse to change it. So if you lose that domain for any reason, that's it. I'm done with you. All right. Pete Quinones, welcome back to the show.
Hey, man, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I immediately thought I wanted to have you back on the show because it's been a very short few days in the political world. Well, this past week we talked about, of course, the Iowa caucuses already came and went. Primary season is, of course, upon us, and everyone made all their funny memes. Ha 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 ha! Look at this stupid I'm trying to be nicer about my language. This stupid middle-aged or older lady who said it's a two-person race, even though she came in third place, Nikki Haley, the absolute devil incarnate that she is. I call her Hillary Rodham Haley. But suddenly the jokes weren't funny anymore, Pete, because in fact it was a two-person race. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announcing on Sunday, which I also want to point out, by the way, everyone on Sunday is hanging out, drinking beer, watching NFL football. Interesting time. We'll talk about that too, maybe. Interesting time for that announcement to come out. So before we go any further, Pete, what are your initial thoughts? Are you surprised? Are you surprised by the result, or are you at least surprised by the announcement, it taking place when it did? What do you think?
Well, in Iowa, I expected Trump to win by even more. But, that being said, DeSantis really, he screwed the pooch on this one. He should have waited till 2028. And I think him being so vehemently, going hard against Trump, doing stuff like that, it was, it doesn't look good, especially when, on a Sunday during football, when everybody's, busy, you drop out of the race and you immediately endorse Trump. It was just so bad all around. I mean, DeSantis in Florida, and I've said this, and 2021, I was a big DeSantis supporter for what he did in Florida, and it really, that was really when I started having outs with a lot of libertarians, because he was basically telling private businesses, no, you can't mandate this, you can't mandate that, and I was like, yeah, that's what somebody should do. Because we just, we're going through the most totalitarian moment in American history, and somebody's standing up and saying, no, you can't do this, and I don't even give a shit if you're a private business. That's not my, the whole private business thing, it's a private company bro thing, that even when I was a libertarian, that wasn't part of my religion, although I'm sure at some time I said I would rather have private businesses, the government not tell private business what to do. But this was definitely a situation where I supported DeSantis. And really when it started coming out that when he signed that anti-Semitism bill, and he proposed, he had it drawn up, he proposed it, got it passed, and went and signed it in Israel. I thought that was just, I said it was borderline treasonous. That why are you going to another country to sign this? You're the governor of Florida. Your people are in Florida. You stay in Florida. You celebrate everything with them. You cry if there's a hurricane. You cry with them. If there's something to celebrate, you celebrate with them. Now, I don't celebrate that bill, but that's when I started looking at him differently. And then when he started running for president, I just realized this guy may be good on the campaign trail in Florida. And I think he did a really good thing by doing the redistricting to basically so that he could win, because Democrats have been doing that for 150 years, gerrymandering and redistricting. So he did that in Florida to guarantee he was going to win, and he won by large numbers. I thought that was very Machiavellian, and I applauded him for that. But when he started running for president, he was just terrible. And the thing that turned me off the most about his run was his supporters. Trump supporters in 2016, they were fun. They were sharing memes. I mean, sometimes they'd just be absolutely mean, but yeah, I mean, but that wasn't their whole tenor. The whole tenor of these DeSantis bots and real people that I know that were pro DeSantis who just went off the deep end and became never Trumpers. It was just embarrassing. And I think a lot of people, if anybody who was on social media who ran into these DeSantis people, had to, have wondered if, I thought that during the Ukraine war, during the beginning of the Ukraine war, you had these accounts that were hashtag NAFO, and they would just promote Ukraine. They would promote Ukraine, shit on Putin, say Putin needs to be assassinated. They would say things like that. And they were all paid. It was all an op. And it almost seemed to me like DeSantis had that. So, the combination of him just really not being able to even communicate well, obviously wearing 3-inch lifts and hiding the fact, and his supporters being the most insufferable pricks since like Hillary Clinton supporters. I was just glad to see him go.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, so I wanna kind of unroll that a little bit, and I also want to because there's the Trump DeSantis part specifically and the rivalry between those two, and then there's just DeSantis's own kind of evolution. And by the way, the last thing I want to do is stir up more trouble between you and the libertarians. But I do want to point out it's interesting to me that on the one hand, there were libertarians that, as you pointed out, that were not high on DeSantis because they felt like, oh, well, he's an authoritarian, and so that's not what I want in an executive, so I wouldn't support him.
Our local librarian is an authoritarian to libertarians and ANCAPs.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, and may she burn in hell. But
yeah,
but the thing is that, but on the other hand, I did know some people that were saying that, well, look, if you put a gun to my head and said, here's the 50 governors of the 50 states, who do you want to be governor? He would probably be near the top because there's a lot of really bad governors out there, right? So, I mean, if you're at least within the paradigm of, I have to pick one of these, who would I pick? He's certainly high up on the list. However, there were a lot of libertarians, and I'll play devil's advocate for the libertarians tonight, that were saying that, well, I like what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is about, but there's a lot of writing on the wall, some that you've already pointed out, that would seem to suggest that maybe I don't like President Ron DeSantis, and so maybe it would be better if he just stayed in Florida. Now, there were people saying that, a couple of years ago, maybe longer.
That.
Yeah,
I was saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like in some ways this was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, in that different people may or may not have supported him in the early going, but you had some of the same reservations that those people had, and then those reservations turned out to be quite true. But that being neither here nor there, I want to talk a little bit about just his evolution. And before I forget it, we'll kind of jump to the end and then go back. The campaign that he ran for president, he didn't, it's almost like, I don't want to be one of these tinfoil hat people that say that, DeSantis died and got replaced by a body double, just like DeMar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills, or all the other celebrities from the jab. But the DeSantis we saw in all those pressers during the COVID stuff, where he was just, pointing right at corporate press people and just shouting them down, saying, no, you're wrong, here's why, get out of my press conference. That guy wasn't the guy who's been on TV the last few months. What happened to him?
It's interesting because you can see the same thing if you're old enough to remember George W. Bush. I don't remember him running for governor in Texas. I think it was in 1992 or 94. I can't remember. But I remember seeing debates of him running for governor. And he was, I don't even know if he had notes. He was spot on. He was just, he could rattle off anything about his state, anything about oil, anything about fishing, anything about the Gulf, anything about cattle. He had the economy, he had everything down, and he didn't stutter, and it was remarkable. But then you look forward to him running as becoming president and running as president, and he basically, it reminds me of DeSantis. There was this video it was on YouTube, and I've never been able to find it, but I found it once, and it was him during a debate in 1994 for governor, or 92 or 94, I can't remember, and him in a debate, him against Kerry in a debate in 2004. Mm-hmm. And it was literally like there was this guy up there in Texas who was like one of the best statesmen you've ever seen. Just, a very, very much like his dad when his dad was president. You could hate his dad and everything, but his dad was a good statesman. He looked like a president. He acted like a president, and he acted very much like a governor. when he became president, he became a complete buffoon. Even some of the things he said when he was running in 2000. I mean, Gore pretty much, Gore should have probably won that. I was living in Broward County, right next to West Palm Beach, when all that went down, when the count went down down there, and I just compare it to that. I think it is two distinct animals. When you're advocating for one thing that you've lived there probably for a long time, and he served in Congress as a representative of Florida, so he knows the state. But when you come out onto the big stage and you're up against these, I don't know that he's like a professional politician. He just doesn't seem to come off that way. He doesn't come off as polished as like Fred Thompson was probably one of the most polished politicians I ever saw on stage. He was just fantastic, always ready with a quip. And he just doesn't come off that way. But when you're going up against, psychopaths like Nikki Haley and Chris Christie and I forget who was up there, Asa Hutchinson, and these people are steeped in the adrenochrome world. And I just don't think that DeSantis was in it. And I think a lot of what you saw, like with the weird faces and everything, I think he was just a deer in headlights. He just didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Fred Thompson's surprisingly good in Law and Order too, by the way.
Excellent actor.
Yeah.
Excellent actor.
So I kind of get that. It kind of makes me wonder if, because sometimes, like, whenever we're watching, our favorite musicians or our favorite athletes or whatever, you think to yourselves, well, these are pros, right? This is what they do for a living. And so them being on a big stage, that's not going to affect them because they do this all the time, right? But, maybe it's something, just running a national campaign is just a different kind of beast than a state campaign. I also can't help but wonder too, in DeSantis's case, if it's also not a product of when you're that level of politician where a major national campaign is something you could fathom. Like for example, a lot of people love Thomas Massie. I love Thomas Massie. And do I wish Thomas Massie could be president? Sure. If I could wave a magic wand and make him president, I would. But he's a small-time congressman from Kentucky. So it doesn't matter how much we like him. He's just not going to be that guy. The support just wouldn't be there. Even if we suddenly had a great revolution, he's just not going to have those kind of numbers. But when you're someone like a DeSantis that's riding really high off of this wave, and your popularity soaring through the roof, and maybe you've got people within the party, right? You've got GOP people, particularly the Never Trumpers, who are saying, well, this could be our guy. This could be the new superstar who's going to come in, and this whole Trump regime is just going to be washed away like the sands of time. We're going to take DeSantis. Do you think there's a chance that they surround him with people that steer him in a direction away from what worked into what they think will work, but it doesn't work for him?
Well, sure. He's preaching to, now he's, basically trying to communicate with the whole country. In Florida, he pretty much knows, that in the northern part of the state and the central part of the state, you're dealing with a lot of rednecks. On the coast, on the East Coast, you're dealing with a lot of up north, you're still dealing with a lot of rednecks. But as you go down the East Coast, you're dealing with a lot of people from the Tri-County area of New York. On the West Coast, you're dealing with a lot of Midwesterners. In the East, in the middle of the state, you're still dealing with a lot of farmers and everything. He knows exactly who he's talking to. He knows exactly who his who his constituency is. So he's able to talk to them. When it comes to the bigger stage, you have to be a lot more, you have to be a little more vague, right? I mean, unless you jump on a specific topic, like if you run on one or two things, like if he would have ran on being, just like I nailed people, just hammered people over the head with, I did what was right during COVID. And if something like this ever happens again, I'll do what's right for the country. If he did say that during the campaign, it just didn't come across as strong. It's because of Ukraine, Russia, and because of October 7th. A lot of this was about foreign policy. And I think when it comes down to it, people just don't care. Most people just don't care about foreign policy. Sure, they have an interest in it. They want to know. They want to know if their kid's going off to war. But people want to know why their grocery bill went from like $75 a week to $150 a week.
Sure.
People want to know why gas went from $1.75 a gallon to $3.50 a gallon. And no one's talking about that. The only person who talks about that was Vivek, who, I mean, I think a lot of people believe and probably was, basically a stand-in for Trump, a proxy for Trump, and Trump. And that's why people love Trump, because you listen to a Nikki Haley talk, you listen to a Chris Christie talk, you listen to a Joe Biden talk, a Kamala Harris, someone like, from small town Tennessee or small town Alabama can just listen to those people and know that they hate them.
Sure.
They know that they're hated by these people, that they have contempt for them. Even though Trump is this, basically Democrat from Queens, New York, he doesn't come off that way. He comes off like he cares about you. I mean, the stories are endless about the way, him paying off, somebody changing a tire for him in the rain and him paying their house off. I mean, these things are just endless. He's just like he isn't a regular guy, but he knows how to relate to regular people. You see him when he talks to regular people, and DeSantis just didn't come off that way. And it seems to me that DeSantis, when he's governor in Florida and he's dealing with COVID, he can come off that way. Look, I'm going to protect you, Floridians. You're my people and everything. But he didn't come off. It's like, my fellow Americans, what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that because of October 7th, anti-Semitism doesn't run rampant and that we make sure to get all the money we can to Israel and Ukraine. I mean, that's not a message most people want to hear. Definitely, I don't know that a Republican base wants to hear it. I think Republican base wants to hear, when are you going to open up drilling so that gas can go back down to $1.75?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I want to touch on one more thing before we take our first break. So, okay, so DeSantis Trump. I mean, that's your big rivalry right there. And of course, DeSantis did make his announcement that he was dropping out on Sunday, right as we were getting into the first playoff game that day. And in his announcement, it was like 4.5 minute long little teleprompter that he gave. He endorsed Trump, but he had that little backhanded, well, I know we've disagreed on things, and it wasn't good enough for him to stop right there. He specifically said, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the elevation of Dr. Fauci. Like, you would think that if this were a guy who was dropping out, endorsing Trump, he absolutely 100% wanted all of his voters to vote for him, and he was chomping at the bit to work in the administration, then he wouldn't have put that part in there. So I came away from watching that announcement as him kissing the ring, but I feel like that's a bridge that's long since burnt. Do you think that the Trump DeSantis thing, it kind of ultimately at the end of the day is just that was always going to be the end for him because this was just going to be Trump's year?
Yeah, I couldn't see him even being a VP. I could see him being in cabinet or, even ambassadorship or something. I mean, I'm sure he'd love to be ambassador to Israel. But sorry, but I think what that might have been was, I think that might have been a message to Floridians saying, I'm going to run for governor again at some point, because I think you have to term out after 2, but you can come back again after you sit out 1 term. That may have just been a message to Floridians that, hey, if this happens again, or remember what I did for you, and if this happens again, I'll make sure that I'll do what I did the first time.
Yeah, I saw somebody say recently that DeSantis could also go the Kerry Lake route, where maybe he disappears for 5 minutes and all of a sudden he's back running for Senate in Florida. I don't.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know. I just want to say I'm not saying I necessarily believe that, but maybe if the political winds shift in such a way where he's still got high favorability ratings in the state and the GOP desperately needs a Senate seat from Florida, then I mean he would be a good choice.
Yeah, the one thing that I would think though is that if he did have aspirations to run for president again in the future, he'd maybe he'd rely upon his executive knowledge. I mean, people historically, before Obama and before before Biden, really like their governors. You Reagan, Clinton, George W. Bush. You can go back, Rockefeller. It's it, it's Roosevelt. I'm sorry, not Rockefeller. Roosevelt. It's yeah. I don't know that he. I guess if there was a chance to get a Senate seat, sure. But, still personally, I think him being executive and governor, even if he has to sit out a term and maybe he runs for something in governor or runs for something there, or just like disappears for a little while, or if for 4 years Trump might have given him ambassadorship or something like that, that he could come back and he could, if they need a Senate seat. The problem I have with is I think I think more can be done in your state than can be done at the national level right now. I think people running, I'd rather have if somebody I knew was trying to run for Senate, I would ask them to run for mayor of their hometown. Somebody that I agreed with, somebody that I shared values with. I would tell them to run for mayor of their hometown, then run for Senate. Because, I mean, you can make yourself rich by going up there. You can elevate your profile. But if you actually do want to make change and serve and actually protect your people, I think you'd be better off as a mayor. I think you'd be better off as a governor. But, politics is politics. You just don't know what's going to happen. And, after this presidential run, you don't know how much more of a politician he's actually turned into.
Well, let's touch on that after the break. We'll talk a little bit about kind of where things go from here, particularly for DeSantis, right after this commercial break. Don't go away. It's Too Late with Alan Mosley is proudly supported by Fox & Sons Coffee. Fans of It's Too Late use code ITL and receive 18% off orders of $25 or more. Shipping's always free on orders over $37.99, so get yours today at their website, which is www.foxinsons.com. It's www.foxinsons.com. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Pete, I just want you to be aware of this as we're talking. Right now, in the Republican primary, Chris Christie has the same number of votes as Vermin Supreme in the Democratic primary.
Well, that's as much as I think Vermin Supreme is probably even a bigger garbage human than Chris Christie. That's hilarious.
All right,
they're probably about on par right there. So
all right. Well, on that note, okay, so let's to kind of put a pin in the whole DeSantis thing. It's like so looking to the future. We talked a little bit about positions that might suit him, whether or not he's going to be involved with the Trump administration in any way. And honestly, my guess at this point kind of is that he isn't. I think that DeSantis, it makes maybe a little bit more sense for him to just sort of kind of disappear from the public eye for a little bit, let DeSanctimonious and the platform heels and all that stuff kind of go away and then reemerge. Because look, I mean, I can appreciate the stuff that he did as the governor of Florida. I can appreciate the kind of leadership he showed 21, 22. It's just that seems so it's funny how time works, doesn't it? That seems so long ago. When you've made some big gaffes publicly, all of a sudden no one remembers those things. But I'll pose you this kind of question / thought, because this is something that I kind of go back and forth with MAGA people a lot, which is now back in after 2016 when the MAGA people thought Trump would win re-election and then Trump Jr. would win twice, and then Ivanka would win twice. And you remember those memes where it was just going to be Trump?
They were pretty funny.
All into the 2040s and 50s and beyond. And of course, that got derailed really, really damn quick. But those types of people were never able to really look past the next election, which is, and so my question that I posed to them back in 2020, which I guess even let's just say hypothetically Trump wins in 24, I would pose the same question. What are you going to do when his final 4 years are up and there's just a smoking crater where the GOP used to be, and you've still got the Never Trumpers and the MAGA, and you have these diametrically opposed candidates, but you don't have another Trump. Like, Trump's done. His 4 years or 8 years at that point would be up. Could DeSantis come back then and make a splash, or are we just going to be in for another pendulum swing where you're just going to have the most abhorrent neocon versus the most abhorrent progressive 4 years from now?
Well, if he does win Trump this year and becomes president, does he run for a second term? I think is he allowed to?
He's not allowed to run. He wouldn't be allowed to run again if he wins. So it's not consecutive. Okay. It's total 8.
Okay, so total 8.
So let's just say hypothetically he does win, but then that's it. His eligibility is gone. Then what happens to the whole right-wing political side?
Well, by the end of 4 years of Trump, you would hope that the whole government was completely torn apart. I mean, but I don't think he's that kind of. I don't think he's that kind of Machiavellian. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody else is going to have to be groomed to keep that going, to keep that kind of energy going. DeSantis doesn't have that kind of energy. Vivek, I don't want him to run ever. Personal opinion. Somebody else has to be groomed. Somebody else has to be able to be the kind of attack dog, the kind of person who does everything they can to make the regime look ridiculous. You have to remember too is when Trump got elected in 2016, by the time 2020 rolled around and the election happened, whatever happened there, the left had strengthened a lot, especially money-wise. They had brought in billions and billions of dollars. And over the last 3.5 years, I guess it's 3 years now, with Biden in office, they've been gaining more power. They've been expanding their sphere more, but I also think that there's a combination of incompetency in the regime and just overconfidence. So, like the Texas border that's happening right now.
Sure. Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, could you imagine sending the Border Patrol and sending the Border Patrol has a special unit. It's like a special forces that fights against terrorists and everything. I mean, these guys are well trained. I mean, big time. Can you imagine them literally going to fight to keep the border open so that people could come in? It's the worst optics in the world, especially at a time when you have Democrats who are I'm not for closing the border, but we have to do something about immigration. So the optics are really bad. I mean, I don't know that we can have another Trump. I mean, there are people out there who can do it, who can act like he does, who can insult, just ridicule the regime and their apparatchiks the way he does. But how many of them are a billionaire that can buy their way out of anything, that has FU money? People will say Vivek. No, I'm sorry. It's going to be hard. It's really what you can hope. I've been saying this for a while now. I said the future in this country looks to me like it's either going to be authoritarianism from the right or authoritarianism from the left. what will 4 years of Trump do? Will 4 years of Trump build and shape it so that right-wing authoritarianism could take hold? I'm not so sure. I think that it'd be more left-wing authoritarianism. I mean, unless he is able to raise up somebody who can, basically rule the United States like DeSantis rules Florida, as an autarch, as somebody who can just be like, I'm going to fire this whole department, put my own people in. Yeah, I just don't see a huge change happening other than a crumbling of the government, or basically just a complete retooling of the State Department, the Pentagon. I mean, yeah, it's really the only thing I could see. I mean, DeSantis coming in 2028. I don't know. If Trump was able to do 4 years of absolutely destroying so much that it needed to be fixed, and then you have an executive like DeSantis would come in, and he has the ability to fix it and to set things up like he did in Florida, which he basically tore down and then built back up, then maybe then maybe DeSantis has a chance. But somebody with the kind of attitude and the kind of personality and the kind of just the I think Trump's once in a lifetime. I just don't see it. Once in a generation, maybe once in 100 years, once in 200 years. We haven't seen anything like him in the United States. There have been people like him in other countries, sort of, but Italy was electing porn stars to their parliament in 1990s. So,
well, let's talk. You mentioned the Texas border thing, so we'll talk about that for just a minute. I do want to say just to put a final touch on that. I don't actually expect. I do kind of feel like Trump's going to win, but I don't think Trump will actually accomplish anything. I don't have any hope that the second Trump term will be. I'll put it this way. We ran a poll, and of course, you know me. My polls are really mostly to be funny. But we ran a poll this past weekend that was, which of these people would you rather see as vice president in 2024? Now, I did this poll just to show just how incredibly unpopular Nikki Haley is. But I certainly don't think it's a 0% chance that he tries to pick Nikki Haley as his vice president. Now, obviously, AOC wins that with 71.2% of the vote because America has spoken and they love Latina titties. However,
that's the only reason. The only reason.
But with that said, I had done a previous poll from a week or two ago, which was, what percentage of the MAGA base do you think would abandon Trump if he picked Nikki Haley as his vice president? And I just had the base 25, 50, 75, or upwards of 100%. And basically you had two radical different choices. You had a lot of people picking the very bottom of the scale, thinking that the true MAGA is going to vote for Trump. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his relationship with Anthony Fauci is. They're just going to vote for Trump. And vice versa, you had people picking the other end of the scale because they just really, really hate Nikki Haley. They do see her as just another Hillary Clinton. And if you believe that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are opposites, I'm not necessarily saying I do believe that, but if you do, then him picking Nikki Haley would be a very poor choice. If you just got done telling all your base, we hate Hillary Clinton, and then the next day you pick Hillary Clinton but with dark hair as your VP, it would be an unpopular choice. So I just don't, I don't know, call me a cynic. I don't have a lot of high hopes, but I do have higher hopes as the point of this segue. I do have a lot higher hopes for things at the state level. Now, you know me, I'm associated with the 10th Amendment Center. And so we're always tickled pink to see 10th Amendment and Nullify trending on Twitter. And it was trending a lot here the last few days because of all the stuff that's going on between Governor Abbott in Texas and the Biden administration and the border. So I wonder, we'll just kind of start there because since we have a few minutes left to talk about just as of this recording, because God knows things could change in the next 24 hours, but as of this recording, so the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that the feds could come in and take down the wire. Now the lawsuit's still going on, but they're wanting to essentially reopen the border completely wide open. Abbott did go on record as saying, I'm ignoring that order. And this very day, he had National Guardsmen putting more wire up. Without getting into any other particulars, I was happy to see it. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you have to push back against a regime if you're a governor, if you're a governor of a state that is considered quote unquote red state, and especially if you're a border state, and especially if you're being overrun. I mean, I've seen the videos from Eagles Pass. I remember the video of Elon Musk going down there and them talking to him and saying, there's just 20 miles away, there's a town and it's mostly people who just poured over the border. I mean, you can't have a country without a border. And I mean, I know a lot of people think that that's, well, I don't want a country. I want anarchy. Okay, well, most people don't. The overwhelming majority of people don't. So you can just keep wishing. But I think it's good when you have a governor who says, not only I'm not going to do what the president says, but I think a lot of people believe that basically the Supreme Court is like the last bastion. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. That it's a place where you can go. You can have, Trump loaded it up, so it's supposed to be all conservative. Well, apparently it isn't. The fact that the fact that I have Amy Coney Barrett on the brain because she's such a scumbag idiot. The fact that Abbott's not only defying Biden, but he's defying the Supreme Court. That if you're for like secession, if you're for states' rights, you should be happy about that. I mean, that's huge. Usually, when the president says something, the governors back down. Abbott didn't do that. Almost always, when the Supreme Court says something, governors back down, and he's not doing that. At least, I don't know if this is a LARP on his part, but I did see footage of people putting up more, razor wire down there, and I hope so. I mean, I have a lot of friends who live in Texas, and this is one of the main things that they talk about.
Well, it's an interesting point because I know, again, I try not to paint groups of people with really broad brushes, but I do know that there's a lot of open borders people. There's a lot of open borders libertarians. I know there's a lot of libertarians that would classify that, well, I don't really believe in the federal government doing anything. But you have people more like me that would say, well, I'm a Southern supremacist and I'm a states' righter. So whereas I really don't give a shit what the federal government says, it's not a matter of it's a matter of picking the options before me. And if I had to choose between Texas doing what Texas wants or the U.S. government telling Texas what to do, I would pick Texas doing what Texas wants. Now, of course, with the caveat, because this is the tricky thing too when you're talking about these big issues that are in the national consciousness, is you're seeing these hundreds of thousands of people, with their room temperature IQs talking about what they think nullification is and what they think the 10th Amendment means. And the only thing I would say to that is to pour a teensy bit of cold water on it is, I'm glad you all came around. And I'm glad we can all agree that Texas should stand up and protect its border. However, California might decide to do some things I don't like, and I hope that they all fall into the ocean and die, but I'm not actually going to dig the tunnel. Does that make sense? I'm going to stay over here in the state of Tennessee. Now, provided we've all decided that we're going to enforce all of our individual borders, I'm cool with that.
Well, I'm also for, I believe in states' rights as well. But as long as we're a nation and as long as we're the states have open borders between them, I'm not going to support a blue state having open borders. I'm going to advocate that their borders with international borders be closed. I mean, and I'm sorry if that sounds hypocritical. I don't care. I don't. I have my people, and I only care about my people. And someone coming across the border in California can make its way here and hurt people that I care about.
Its way.
Yeah.
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 Well,
And it's, and so it's like when I see Abbott doing what he's doing, I'm like, yeah, cool. I mean, I don't know if people remember this, but Florida and Texas were, when COVID, in the beginning of COVID, they were barring, like Florida was barring people with New York license plates from coming into the state. I was all for that. I want borders between the states.
Yeah, yes,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't want people coming. Yeah, I don't want people coming to the state that I live in from California.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
It's cheaper to live here.
Yeah, I should make sure to make sure that I was clear on that. So I don't care what California does, even so much. If California wants to have open borders, if New York wants to have open borders, that's fine. But you have to have a visa to come to Tennessee.
Yeah,
and so we have border control here. But of course this is one of the reasons why I think in the long look the union doesn't survive, because on this one day, on this one issue, you may have people coming to a loose agreement that, well, hey, maybe some different states decide what they want to do, and the feds just simply don't have the enforcement apparatus, so screw them, we're going to do what we want. The problem is that we both full well know that those heavily populated and therefore politically strategic blue states are not going to let bygones be bygones. That's not how they operate. Tomorrow, on a different issue, they're going to do everything in their power to make Tennessee and Alabama do things exactly the same way that New York does. We just know, because that's their nature. Yep. And so that's in the long look of things. I'm bullish in thinking that maybe progress can be made. But I do want to at least leave with the note that I don't know how things are going to turn out in Texas. I agree with you. I don't know if Abbott is really actually going to stand up for this, pun intended, or if he's just LARPing because he wants to raise some cash for his next campaign. But I hope it is genuine. And I hope that more states do this, because, of course, as our people from the 10th Amendment Center would say all the time, in the overwhelming majority of cases, I mean, the federal police force is what, like 50,000 police? There is no federal enforcement apparatus. They need your governor and your state to enforce all of its laws upon your town. They need them. If they say no, right, then it doesn't happen. But what you and I have to hope for is, okay, great, we're doing it on this particular issue, but how about we do it on all issues? And Texas decides everything for Texas, not just the border.
Man, I've gotten it down to like one rule on politics. I just want people who believe what I do and are friendly to me to be in charge.
Yeah.
And that's basically it at this point. If you want all the things you want, that you see, the way you want to see the world, you need your friends in charge. And that's something that that I was addressing on Twitter this week with some with a couple libertarians. Was it's like, if you think that you have a better way of doing things, I mean, people aren't buying it and you're not really selling it well, you're gonna have to force it upon them. And the easiest way to force it upon them is to get your people elected. I mean, everybody's excited about Javier Milei doing things in privatizing things in in Argentina and not telling anybody who's buying them. But that's, you want to get your people in charge, and then you want them to use the heavy hand of state legitimacy. If you don't believe in that, okay, it doesn't matter. People do. And if you want whatever you want the world to look like, whatever you want the world around you to look like, you're going to have to force it on people. That's what they're doing now.
Well,
it sounds rough, but I mean, literally, it's, and I hate using the term literally over and over again. I'm trying to get rid of that. Trying to stop using that word, because it's such an easy word to use as a stupid little device when you're talking. But if you want to get things done, you have to get your own people in charge, because the state's not going anywhere. And even if the state did go away tomorrow, 99% of the people would beg for another state, and you'd be stuck there going, wait, I don't want a state, and they'll be like, okay, sure, boom, okay, you're in the way, boom. I mean, what was the first thing that the Bolsheviks did when they took over in Russia? They killed all the anarchists. Why? Because the anarchists wanted anarchy. Yeah. And they're like, no, we want a state.
Well, on that cheerful note, Pete, where can people go to support you?
I'm always cheerful.
I know you are. I meant to mention this at the beginning of the show. I'll mention it now. Pete, where can people go to support you and check out your now over 1,000 episodes?
Thank you. I just bought this domain, peteq.org. It takes you right to all of my episodes. It's a searchable site, but I'm on Spotify. I'm on Spotify, Apple, Podcast Addict. Pretty much, I haven't been kicked off of one yet, although some people have tried. And I also do. Actually, I'm gonna, as soon as we stop here, I have a meeting with the Old Glory Club. A bunch of us get together to write Substack articles and do podcasts, do live streams, talking about things that happen on the live stream. We talk about things that happen in the news that week, but we also we try to keep our Substacks to like things related to Americana. I've written an article on barbecue and where I think the best places for barbecue are in the United States, which just cause people to spiral. If you want to support the show, I have a Patreon. I have my website, freemanbeyondthewall.com/support. There's a bunch of ways you can support me there. So, yep. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate it, Pete. Are we going to see you here in May?
Yeah, we're going to come up. We'll only be up. We'll probably come up. We'll be there mostly for Saturday.
All right. Well, we're going to have the lemurs and the kangaroos wearing bow ties, waiting upon your arrival. Pete, thanks so much for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you, Alan.
Pete will know that I had made the joke on Twitter when everyone was giving him a pat on the back for his 1,000th episodes and how great the show has been. I made sure to let them all know. I know for a fact of at least one episode that was utter dog shit. I know of one for sure. I've seen it with my own eyes. All right, guys, we're going to be back to wrap up the show right after this commercial break. Don't go away. If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. Like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV. You can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/Alan Mosley TV. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Alan Mosley TV. But if you're more of a listener than a watcher, get us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Thanks to Spotify, It's Too Late with Alan Mosley or Alan Mosley TV. Also, don't forget to get your tickets for the 6th annual It's Too Late live show, Saturday, May 18th in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee. Dave, do you have a final thought?
I'm so happy to be a part of this show because I learned so much that I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. How about
really
that?
Informative. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on in Texas, apparently. That's crazy.
Look at that. Steve says he's already got his tickets. He can't wait. So come meet Steve Fox of Fox & Sons Coffee at the 6th annual It's Too Late live show. Pete's going to be there. Pete's coming up to the event this year. Brooke's yelling. So
she's excited.
Yeah, excited. Brian's got his tickets. Everybody's got his. Lyle's got a ticket. I didn't even remember, Lyle, that you had already gotten a ticket. Codane's got his ticket. I think we got some VIPs in chat as well.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
A lot of VIPness here.
Steve says he's going to buy me and Pete a drink, even though the drinks are provided at the event by me.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Yeah, Steve's full of shit. That's what I'm saying. All right.
Hey.
All right.
Almost made it.
What do you think? Little after party?
Are we?
Just-
Okay.
I've got my
Little
second win. We'll just real quick.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of It's Too Late, and we will see you next week. No, I'm regretting it now. I think no after party.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. just a little, you know.
Yeah. Do the whole upload thing and
Yeah, exactly.
chat
I'm
with our
gonna.
friends.
Yep, I'm gonna have the show uploading first thing, and as soon as it's done, I just delete System 32.
Yeah. Take the whole channel down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For
Take all the
sure.
VIP money.
Oh, Mary's back. Hey, Mary.
That's fine. She can take a break.